to the Garden of Reading, and welcome to all of the books that I was able to get through over the fall season. And boy, did I get through a lot of books, you guys. I honestly did. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't want to sit down and film this video because of all of the books that I got through. There's so many books, and I don't really know why, but I feel like the last 3 months have gone by so slow that when I was pulling out all of the books that I read over the fall season, over the last 3 months, I felt like, did I already talk about these books? Were these books that I read during the summertime? I had to go back and look at my fall TBR to see what books I picked out for the fall season video because I just wasn't sure. Like, the fact that I got through all of these books over the fall season, and I don't know, I just feel like time has been going by so slow these last 3 months, but fast at the same time for some reason. I just felt like I read these books so long ago. So bear with me trying to remember characters' names or what even happened in these books. And that is why I do have my reading journal to write down all of my thoughts and opinions, favorite quotes, and things like that to really help me recapture what happened in each book that I read. So anywho, that is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go through all of these lovely books that I was able to get through over the fall season. But just to recap some videos that I have recently uploaded in case you missed out or in case you're new here to my channel, I will link down below my fall TBR, although I am gonna be talking about them today. If by chance you want to watch that video, I will link it down below. I will also link down below my fall bookshelf organization and decorating. This is the last week of fall, you guys. I'm so sad, but I'm also happy at the same time that it's going to be Christmas time and Christmas season. So yeah, this is the last week of fall, so I'll leave a link down below to me decorating my reading nook area for the fall season. But I am ready to tear it down. I am so ready to tear it down and put up Christmas decor. I'm definitely in the Christmas spirit. And then I'll also link down below my bookshelf reorganization of my dream home library in case you missed it. That was a really fun one. I even got a new rotating bookshelf here in my room, so definitely check it out. And yeah, I think those are the only new videos that I have uploaded. For some content coming your way, stay tuned for my October Ultimate Battle of the Book Box between Owl Crate, Illuminate, and Fairylit, and my probably smut unboxings, I believe for September and October. So stay tuned because those have already been filmed. One of them has already been edited, and they're going to be coming out to you very soon. In the meantime, I'm going to continue to use my ghost cup that I got from Probably Smut. Let's get in a first drink of coffee because this one's going to be a long one. So grab your drink of choice, grab your treats, grab your sweets, and get comfy, get cozy, because this is going to be quite the lengthy video of me going through and talking about all of these books. Okay, I really need to put a coaster over here. So let's do that. Okay. Hopefully I can grab this stack without dropping them, because I tell you, when I tried to shoot my thumbnail, I don't know how many times I dropped this stack of books. Okay. These are all of the books that I was able to get through over the fall season, you guys. Holy cow. Holy cow. So I think I added on 2 extra books, actually 3 extra books. Yeah. I added on 3 extra books to my TBR, so we'll talk about those more towards the end. So for those of you who are new here, I do span my reading wrap-ups and my TBRs over the seasons. So my fall reads spanned over the course of September, October, and November, and then my winter reads will span over the course of December, January, and February. So just stay tuned, you guys, because everything that I want to read for the winter season is going to be coming very soon to you. I'm going to be sitting down and filming that as soon as I tear down all of this fall season decor. And hopefully I have enough decor to make a Christmas section, because I haven't really been shopping for Christmas decor, so we shall see. Yeah, anywho, let's go ahead and dive right on in. So for my fall TBR, I picked out, let me count them,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13,
13 books, you guys. 13 books, which is around my normal amount of books that I pick out for 3 months at a time. I'm averaging anywhere from 3 to 5 books a month, just really depending on the types of books that I read and how much time I'm given in my daily life to be able to read. So first and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the book that I did not get to, and that was only one of the books. So one of the books that I just didn't end up getting to that I will just roll over to my winter reads is Volume 8 of Aharu Ride by Ayo Sakisaka. For those of you guys who are loyal subscribers of mine, you guys know that I have been loving this series. It's so good, and yeah, I just didn't end up getting to this one, and I think it's because I ended up adding on 3 extra books to my TBR that I ended up getting to, so I'm not mad at the fact that I wasn't able to get through this book because I will just roll it on over and read it for my winter reads. And this series is almost going to be wrapped up. I think there's 13 volumes in the series, so I'm almost through it, you guys, and I'm really, really sad, but I'm also happy because I really want to watch the anime that pairs with it. So that is the only book that I wasn't able to get through. Moving on to my middle grade reads. So for now, I only have 1 middle grade read. I did end up picking up 2 other ones, but those are books that I ended up tacking onto my TBR. So I'll talk about those at the end, all of the books that I ended up adding onto my TBR. So for now, I only have 1 middle grade read, and that is Charlotte's Web by E.B. White, author of Stuart Little and pictures by Garth Williams. So this is my childhood class book that we read. I can't remember if it was elementary or middle school that we read this. I'm pretty sure it was elementary school that we read this. This was our class book. We got to keep it. We got to take it home. And she is yellow and beat up. And yeah, I will never get rid of this copy because this copy means so much to me in my childhood. And yeah, it just holds a really special place in my heart. Along with the book, I grew up on Charlotte's Web. I loved Charlotte's Web. I've read this book several times throughout my lifetime, and I've watched the movies more than a few times. And so I've been doing this as a read aloud with my kids. So my 10-year-old and my 5-year-old. My 3-year-old will stick around for a little bit. She's a little bit more interested when there's pictures on the pages. But my boys have been loving this. We've been laughing out loud, and it's been a good time. So for those of you that don't know what Charlotte's Web is about, although how could you not know what this book is about? And I'm also just barely finding out that this is actually a banned book in schools, which is ridiculous. I think banned books should not be a thing. I think it's dumb. If your heart can't take what you're reading, then simply don't read it. I mean, I think every child and every person in general needs to read about books that involve heartbreak, that involve racism, that involve religion, and that's just a part of society and a part of who we are as people. And I just think it makes us stronger and wiser, especially to things that used to happen back in the days and how things were said or how things were done and how much we have overcome since then. But that's just my little rant. So this is about a girl named Fern. She lives on a farm with her family, and her dad is about to kill the runt of the pig litter, and Fern will not stand for this. She stands up for what she believes in, that this pig, just because he's a runt, shouldn't be killed just because he's smaller than the rest. So her dad lets her take on this pig and raise him, only to be taken away from her again down the road to her uncle's farm, where this pig is going to be fattened up and ready to be put on somebody's Christmas table for Christmas dinner or Christmas breakfast. And so enter Charlotte, our little spider, who saves Wilbur by creating these amazing words in her web about Wilbur, such as radiant, terrific. And so everyone from all over believes a miracle has happened on this farm. Enter God, although they don't exactly say so, but that is what they mean. And so a miracle has taken place on this farm. A miracle has happened to the pig, a miracle with this spider web, a miracle with the Zuckermans, and just becoming famous over this pig. So they decide to enter Wilbur into the fair. And Charlotte's main goal and Wilbur's main goal is to save Wilbur and hope that he will not be on the breakfast table or the dinner table for the Zuckermans come Christmas time. So it's a very heartfelt book. There's a lot of things that happen throughout this book that are very, very sad. The movie came out in like 1973. And so let's take a look at the published date of the book. 1952. So it's a copyright 1952 by E.B. White. So this book came out a really, really long time ago, and the way things were said and done back in the days is very different to today. You have Avery, who is Fern's brother, who has a gun and, you know, catches frogs and snakes and brings them into the house and takes his gun to school with him, and it's pretty crazy times, but I think that it's really good for the kids to kind of look back in time and how kids were raised back in the day versus now. Even throughout this book, my boys were like, what? Because Fern was grabbing a bucket of water and giving herself a sponge bath because there was not a bathtub to fill up with hot water. So they thought that was very disgusting, and they're very happy and blessed to be able to have a bathtub and a shower. But nonetheless, you guys, this was just a well-rounded book, and my kids had a really good time with it. We actually have a couple chapters left. As you can see, this is the first one in the class set that was given to me. Anywho, we have a couple chapters left. We have like 2 or 3 chapters left, but I needed to get in here and make this video because, like I said, this is the last week of fall. I want this video to go up this weekend, and so yeah, I've read Charlotte's Web a million freaking times. I know how it ends. My 5-year-old has seen the movie, so he is dying to tell us how it ends, but I keep telling him don't spoil it for your brothers. For Benjamin, my 10-year-old, he has seen the movie when he was little, but he doesn't remember it, and then this is his first time reading the book, so he doesn't want to be spoiled in how it ends. But we have started watching the original cartoon of Charlotte's Web, and we started watching that last night, and we're having a really grand time with it. I stand by reading this book as a read aloud with your children. I tell you, it's going to be a good time. There's going to be a lot of laughs. My kids really enjoyed the dialogue of the animals and all of the new vocabulary words that Charlotte was teaching to Wilbur, which was also teaching my kids new words as well, which I absolutely loved. And one thing that really stuck out in this book that my 10-year-old really, really loved is how Charlotte is like a mother to Wilbur. I don't know how many times he said that throughout reading this book together, how much he loved that Charlotte acted like a mother to Wilbur and took him under her wing and saved him. And so I just love that that is what stuck out to him most when reading this book. And this book just really dives into friendships and standing up for what is right. It also goes over death and how to get through that death and grieve, and also new birth and springtime new babies. And it's just a well-rounded book. I absolutely love it. I highly recommend it, and I'll say this time and time again, but I highly, highly recommend reading to your children, not just Charlotte's Web. Read to your kids, you guys. I don't care how old they are. As they continue to grow into middle school, high school, sit down and do a read aloud book club together. You're going to find it to be one of the most amazing, just intimate bonding experiences with your children, and I will vouch by that time and time again, how important it is to read to your children, your nieces, your nephews, your grandchildren, whatever it may be. Pick up a book and read to them today. I highly, highly suggest it. Okay, so let's move on because I feel like I talked about that book for like 10 minutes. Okay, almost forgot to rate the book. It's going to be 5 stars. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. It's a 5-star book. It is so good. My kids absolutely loved it. Just the conversations that we're having while we're reading through the book, as well as watching the movie together. It's a good time. It's a grand time. So 5 stars for Charlotte's Web. Moving on to my graphic novel manga section. So for my mangas, I did get through one of my Ah How to Ride books, and that is going to be volume 7. So for those of you who are new here and have not heard of Ah How to Ride is a shoujo manga, which is a high school like romance manga, which is my absolute favorite. So in this book, we have Futaba and Ku, who grew up together, and basically elementary school, junior high, and there was a junior high dance. Ku invites Futaba to this dance. He ends up standing her up, and then Futaba never sees Ku again. She moves on to high school. She has all these feelings for Ku buried deep down, and she's going through high school. She's going through the motions of friendships and lost friendships and trying to fit in, all the while still thinking about Ku. And then one day, a boy shows up that looks like Ku, acts like Ku, but has a different last name. Come to find out it is Ku, so all of these feelings come rushing back to the surface for Futaba. And throughout the series, we are following Futaba and Ku and their up and down roller coaster with not being able to tell each other exactly how they feel. So it's a good time. It's a grand time. You have girls that are coming in between them, guys that are coming in between them, jealousy that's coming in between them, and it just really brings back those high school setting. We all have been there, we've all been put in these situations, and it's just like a feel-good, laughable time to think back to my own high school days and like, why did I let that bother me? Why did I say this? Why did I do that? It's just a good time. It's a good time, and I feel like anybody and everybody can relate, especially young readers, especially if you are in high school or if you have kids in high school. I feel like they would really, really enjoy this book a lot, being able to connect with the characters with going through a lot of the same things. In volume 7, this book actually takes place during the fall season. So if this is not the perfect book to pick up during the fall season, it was a good time just like knowing that they're in the same season that I'm in at the same time. So when I was reading volumes 5 and 6 over the summer, we now enter Toma and Narumi. Toma is a boy, Narumi is a girl, and Narumi is like really good friends with Ku, and Toma is a boy who kind of bumped into Futaba and now is starting to have feelings for her. And so these two, you're entering two other characters into this whole situation between Futaba and Ku, trying to figure out how they feel about each other. And so a lot of jealousy has arisen with Toma trying to get Futaba's attention, Narumi trying to take Ku away from Futaba. We also dive into a real situation where a teacher and a student are dating and like each other and have a crush on each other, which is just nuts, because I can definitely vouch for a couple stories that have happened when I was in middle school. Should we dive into that? Let's do a little story time. A little story time, because why not? We're going to be here for the next hour and a half anyway, so we might as well. So in middle school, I believe it was it 6th grade? It was 6th or 7th grade, and his name was Mr. Michaels, and it was my, gosh, what was he? I think he was like my social studies or my history teacher, and he was always staring at the other girls. And I just remember this one time, this one girl had a like denim skirt on, and she was passing notes back and forth with somebody in the classroom. And so he asked her to give the note to him, and she refused to. So he literally was wrestling her in her desk for the note, trying to take this note out of her hands. And in doing so, he like grabbed her up and felt her up, and she screamed and yelled at what he did. She left the classroom to go tell the office what was going on. Needless to say, I remember telling my mom about the situation, and you know, I go back to school the next day, he's still there, and it wasn't until I graduated the 8th grade that this dude went to jail for basically filling up minors, which is nuts, which is freaking nuts, the fact that he was my teacher. I watched him do that to this girl, and then for it to take a few years for him to finally get caught on what he was doing was nuts. I mean, that, I know that has nothing to do with like teacher-student relationships, but I just thought I would throw that one out there because, you know, there's some crazy teachers out there, y'all. Hence why I homeschool my children, because I don't trust a single soul except for my own family. That's all I trust is my family, nobody else, my immediate family anyways. And yeah, watch out for your kids. Watch out for those teachers, you guys, okay? Because this girl does not believe in the public school system. Although I'm not dissing those that do send their kids to public school. To each their own. I know homeschool is not for everybody. Let me tell you, it's hard work. It is very hard work. It is a job within itself that you do not get paid for, and you only reap the rewards by what you see your kids learning and knowing that you are the ones that taught them it. So I know homeschool is not for everybody, and it's also not a choice that everybody has available to them, you know, with people having careers and jobs and 9-to-5 jobs and not being able to have a babysitter or whatever it may be. So I totally understand it, but needless to say, public school is not for me. And I can't judge you guys because I went to public school all my entire life. I was never homeschooled. Homeschooling was not a thing growing up. But anyways, I'm getting off on a tangent. In high school, there was a math teacher that all of the girls thought he was so stinking cute. And there was a few scandals of this girl and that teacher dating because they were always caught with each other flirting, outright flirting with each other and giving each other stares and stuff like that. Nothing actually ever happened that we knew of, like him getting in trouble. He had been a teacher there for years, but I do remember after we graduated that they did date for a little bit, which is just crazy. So I could only imagine the types of things that was going on in that teacher-student relationship while she was still under age. So it happens. We see it all the time. We see it in movies. We see it in TV shows, but it actually really happens in real life, which is just crazy and sickening in my opinion. Even when it comes to like a college student professor student relationship, I think is gross. But you know, in a book, I'm here for it. In a book, I'm here for it. So anyways, we're kind of following that scandal throughout this book. And let me tell you, when that part of the story starts to pop up, it is juicy, y'all. I'm just like, I want more. What is going to happen between this teacher and student? Are they going to get caught? Because now kids are starting to find out about this whole teacher-student relationship, and it is nuts. It is nuts, and Futaba is drawn right into the middle of it, which, a poor girl, poor freaking girl. And she's not even the one who was dating this teacher. So, pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. So, anyways, a 5 out of 5. That is my rating for this book. I've given a 5 out of 5 to all of the volumes in this series because they're just so good. They're so encapturing. They're so lighthearted as well. But at the same time, they have deeper meanings and really dive into just that high school setting of friendships and gossip and jealousy and all of the sorts that comes with being a teenager. So I highly recommend picking up Aharu Ride if you guys love comic books or like graphic novels. Okay, moving on to the last graphic novel in this section, and that is An Outbreak of Witchcraft, written by Deborah Noyes and illustrated by M. Duffy. I was super excited to pick up this book because I am very, very intrigued in the Salem witch trials. This was a part of history class that I did not pay attention to in high school, and now that I am older, I am really, really intrigued by the Salem witch trials and just what really happened during these times. And let me tell you, if you don't want to read like a whole like actual like textbook on this kind of stuff, you find this kind of stuff boring, pick up the graphic novel. Because I tell you, this really told the entire story for me in graphic novel form. It was intriguing, it was interesting, I got through it very, very fast, and it was good. It was so good that I actually really want to know more about it. I want to learn more about it. I want to read other books like it. So if you guys have any recommendations on any books that you think that I might like that have to do with the Salem witch trials, drop them down below because I would love to know. So we really dive into just how people lived during these times, during the Salem witch trials, and just what really sparked this controversy of that there was witches throughout their community. I'm going to give you guys a few of the quotes that I copied down that I really enjoyed. I'll give you guys a little sneak peek here at my notes. So the first one here, there is no page numbers in here, so I'm sorry to say I'm not going to be able to give you the page number. But the first one here says, if your milk curdled, you blamed a witch. If your crops withered, it was under a witch's evil hand. Most charges of witchcraft were between neighbors when one or the other suffered his misfortune after an argument, and dislike and suspicion became accusation. So literally, in today's time, everyone would be considered a witch. I'm just kidding. But the fact that if they got into an argument with their neighbor and then something bad happened after that argument, they would blame that person for being a witch, which is just nuts. Just freaking nuts. And maybe these people did mess with their crops on purpose and killed out their crops. Maybe these people did make bad things happen to them, not because they're witches, but because they're just mean, evil people and would go and, I don't know, snip all their freaking crops or drown all their crops in water. I don't freaking know. But yeah, pretty crazy. Also, during this time, Native Americans were deemed as heathens. They were also seen as witches because of the color of their skin and how different they were from the rest of the community. They also would think of them as the devil or evil magic, which is just nuts. Only because they were Native Americans, they had a very different culture in the things that they would do or say or eat. And yeah, this book was very mind-blowing, to say the least, at some of the things that people said or did or thought as to why people were witches. The Reverend's daughter ended up, you know, going through these spasms of, I guess you would say, like needing an exorcism, because they would start spazzing up and foaming out of the mouth and saying all of these crazy things coming out of their mouth, talking in tongues. And so the Reverend's daughter and his niece ended up coming down with these symptoms. And so everyone, you know, thought that they were witches, and he hid his daughter and her symptoms from everybody and said she was going to be fine. She was going to overcome this, but yet he outcasted his niece and sent her away to the prisons and to be faced before a judge, which is just crazy. It just goes to show you how easy it is for people to cast anybody else out that's not inside their immediate family, but when it comes to their immediate family, what they're willing to do to protect them. Another thing that they would do to figure out if somebody was a witch is they would make a cake with pee in it and serve it to a dog, and that was supposed to tell them who a witch was. And I don't know, I think like the dog was supposed to do something or like spaz up or something like that. Yeah, that is just like flat out crazy to me. Like, there's no way that that actually worked. So these people were doing some really crazy things to try to figure out who was a witch. And in my opinion, probably everybody during this time at some point was accused of being a witch. There was also a lot of crazy trials. The fact that these women would come to this trial and be wailing out and talking in tongues and saying all of these crazy things before a judge, confessing to being a witch and riding on a broom and seeing the devil himself, is just flat out crazy to me. Now, me being a Christian woman, the devil's real. The devil can get inside all of our minds at any point in time. He is a shapeshifter. And so, although, yes, I believe in the devil, I know he is real, I just feel like a lot of these people were making a lot of things up. I don't know if they were like bored or what it was, but you even had husbands going against their own wives and calling them out as a witch. And in my opinion, I think these husbands were done with their women and maybe wanted somebody else. And so they were probably like, you know what, here's my chance to cast out my wife as a witch so I can get rid of her. Like, call me crazy, but does that not sound like something that some of these men might have done? Think about it. So, the children, it was mainly children and women that were being casted out as witches. It was hardly ever the men, at least in this version of the Salem witch trials. There wasn't really men who were being taken in for witchcraft. It was mainly women and children. And with the children, I really feel like the children were making up stories or acting as if they were witches just to get attention, or just to create some silly, crazy story, to stir up some drama, to stir up something exciting within the community. I don't know if I really believe that these children were actually witches, or, you know, that they actually seen the devil, or whatever it may be. Although I feel like, you know, anybody can be the devil. If you are an evil person and you are doing evil things, that is the devil getting inside of you and turning you to his side. So I do believe in evil. I believe the devil can make people do evil things if they're weak enough to give in. But witches is just a flat out crazy. I just think, yeah, these children weren't getting enough attention, because it does express in the book how children are really outcasted. They didn't want to be seen. They didn't want to be heard. It was, you know, wake up and do your chores, out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. So I really think these children weren't getting enough love and care and attention from their family. And so I think that they really just started telling these wild tales and stirring up drama within these communities and these families and pitting people up against each other. Because even at the end of the book, you have one of the witches that comes forward and confesses that it was all a lie, that everything that she said when she was a child was a lie, none of it was true, and that basically, yeah, she just wanted attention. And so these were just some crazy times. And the fact that they hung innocent people, innocent children, innocent women, pregnant women, old women, for being accused of being a witch is just, it's sickening, it's crazy. And I feel like this just like really opened my eyes to just how cruel people can be. Nonetheless, it was a very important part of history that I really loved diving into, and so I gave this book 5 stars. I feel like I can talk about this book and go on and on and on. Nonetheless, it was a really good book, and if you like graphic novels and you're into the Salem witch trials and you want to know a little bit more about it, I highly recommend picking up this book. So the next couple of books that I am going to go over is my romance section, and this is probably going to be one of my favorite sections that I go over because I decided to pick up, I think it's the Dream Harbor series. The Dream Harbor series by Lori Gilmore. So I picked up the Pumpkin Spice Cafe and the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore by Lori Gilmore. These books literally scream fall, y'all. They scream fall. And first, let me go ahead and just dive into the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. Oh my goodness, I think I have found my new favorite genre in the romance section to read about, and that's small town romance. My heart, you guys. I don't think, well actually no, that's a lie. My first, I feel like, small town romance that I ever read was How My Neighbor Stole Christmas by Megan Quinn. Flat out amazing, 6 stars. I can't wait to read the second book in that series that she just dropped this year. So be on the lookout because I will be reading that over my winter reads. But small town romances just do something to me. Just the intimacy between the community and the town folk and whatever romantic characters we are getting thrown our way is just, it's amazing. It's screaming Hallmark, and I don't care what you say. I'm a Hallmark girly, a Lifetime girly. I love those shows and movies, and although they're cheesy and a little bit corny, they're still so good, and they keep you enthralled and captured up until the very end. And this is screaming Hallmark fall movie, and I need them to turn this into a movie ASAP. I honestly do. I literally, as I was reading through this book, I could just play everything out in my mind. It was so visual in my mind, just everything that was happening in this book, the dialogue, the places, what everything looked like, this small little community in town right off of the beach, and it was a good time. It was a good time. As you guys see, I did annotate it, and I had a good time. I had a good time, you guys, and this is my first book that I've ever annotated. Well, I take that back. I did have to annotate the Cinder series for college for an English class, and I absolutely hated it with my heart. Wow, I am defacing this book and marking it up, and it hurt my heart. It hurt my heart. I don't know why, but when I picked up this book, something in me told me I wanted to annotate it. That I really wanted to dive into this book and annotate every single quote that I absolutely loved, every single cozy thing that just spoke out to me, all of the romance scenes, and it was fun. It was so much fun that I had to do it again for the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, you guys. So, yeah, I will give you guys a quick little sneaky peek here. I had a really good time marking up the book, highlighting stuff, writing in it, annotating through it. I'll go ahead and show you guys my key here. So I did go ahead and make up my key for the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. And then these were all of my keys. So I have funny, cozy, romantic moments, favorite quotes, and food. And then I actually ended up adding in a sad tab. There's a few sad scenes in here, just because basically we are following Logan and Jeannie. Jeannie is given this cafe from her aunt, who's basically retiring, and so she gives it over to her niece Jeannie. And so Jeannie comes to get away from her city life and to start brand new, to start fresh, and hopefully become a newer, better version of herself. And so she takes up this cafe. This town is a very tight-knit town. They're very nosy. This is the type of town where they have actual in-person town meetings, and as a community they decide, you know, what's going to happen throughout the community as far as like businesses and shops that are going to be opening up and where to place them throughout the town and things like that. And so enter Logan, who is a farmer who helps out on his grandparents' farm. These two end up having a thing for each other. Logan ends up helping Jeannie out with starting up her business, helping her to get it open, as well as solving this mystery case of a Jeannie hearing things go bump in the night. So she's hearing scratches, she's hearing bumps, she's hearing things that happen in the middle of the night. So Logan has recruited himself to help her figure out this mystery. So throughout this, not only are we getting romance, we're also getting a mystery. So throughout the book, you also follow this mystery on what is happening, because somebody has been messing with the heating settings, somebody has been messing with the freezer settings, to where she almost lost everything that was in the freezers. And so just some eerie things have been going on, and so together they are trying to figure that out, as well as their feelings for each other. And it's a good time. It's such a good time, you guys. So I did have a quote here that I wrote down. This is literally on page 1 in the book. It says, Jeannie Ellis had never killed a man before, but tonight might be the night. And I literally laughed out loud at this. So one of my tabs is funny. And if you can't guess, one of the main tabs that I used is the green tab. This book was downright funny, and I don't know what it was. I was having such a good time with this book that it literally made me laugh out loud more than once. It was so good. I probably had a cheesy grin on my face the entire time as I was reading through this book. Hands down, you guys, a 6-star read. 6-star read all the freaking way. It just really gave me the same feels that Megan Quinn's How My Neighbor Stole Christmas book did. I also gave that book 6 stars, and this was no different. So good, and I can't wait to read through the rest of the series. And Logan in here just really keeps to himself. He doesn't want drama. He's very much an introvert, doesn't want to be sociable, really doesn't want anything to do with the town, just wants to do his own thing and be able to have feelings for Jeannie without everyone else being in on the relationship. But he falls hard for Jeannie, and the way he falls for her is just the most romantic thing ever. He's also a people fixer. So anytime somebody is going through something, he just has to try and fix it and make them happy, which bless his heart, bless his freaking heart. So there is like a sad part of this book. Like I said, I ended up adding the sad tab a little ways through the book, because you end up finding out that like Logan was supposed to be engaged at one point, and so it tells a story of this other woman that he was in love with and what went wrong in their relationship. And honestly, it is so sad. And so throughout this entire book, we are basically following Logan and like him basically grieving over that relationship and trying to get over it and trying to move on and trying to find love again and trying to find himself, that he can love someone again and someone can love him again, that there are better women out there, but he's just having a really hard time with it. And that just like ate me up so hard, because if that is not true, like in relationships, it's happened to the best of us, where one person falls so much harder than the other, and then it just doesn't end up going where you want it to go in the relationship. And so my heart really broke for him, but I just knew that him and Jeannie were going to be for each other and we're going to get our happy ending. There's also another quote in here on page 58. It says, he loved his grandmother, but her cooking was atrocious. Her crock pot was where her food dreams went to die. Hilarious, hilarious. So he did not like his grandma's cooking. Throughout the book, whenever his grandma would say, you know, dinner's ready, he would be like, yeah, I'm full, and then just like go eat out at the diner. Like, his poor grandmother, his poor grandmother. There was a scene in this book where Jeannie and Logan are making out in his truck, and she decides to get in his lap, and as they're getting hot and steamy, her butt literally toots the horn, and that literally ended their makeout session. Hilarious, hilarious. I could not stop laughing. Like, just so funny, especially because they're also trying to hide their relationship from everybody in the town until they're basically ready to figure out where this relationship is heading and when they're ready to like tell everybody. So the fact that they were like secretly trying to be sneaky and making out in this car, but yet honking for everyone to find them and look their way is just, it was great. It was funny. Really, really funny to me. Anyways, you guys, I feel like I can talk about this book on and on and on. But like I said, this book was a 6-star read. If you love fall, if you love cozy, you love small town romance, you love a little bit of spice in your books, if I had to give this a spice rating, I'd probably give it about a 3. There's not very many. You probably get halfway through the book before you even get to a spicy scene. And then once you do reach that first spicy scene, there's maybe just a couple more after that. So I'd give this about a 3 spice rating. So if you love spice, small town romance, romance in general, kind of a slow burn, because it does take some time for them to really start getting into their feelings for each other and really accepting those feelings for each other. And just all of the mentions of coffee and books and small town romance and book clubs. It's a good time. It's a good time, you guys. I highly recommend it. 6 stars and chef's kiss. Miss Lori Gilmore knows how to write a cozy romance. I'll give you that. Then moving on, I just had to pick up The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore by Lori Gilmore. This is the second book in the Dream Harbor series. And so this one dives into one of Logan's best friends, Hazel, and she helps run a bookstore that also sells cinnamon rolls on the side. Does that not sound like heaven, you guys? Yes. Selling books, being surrounded by books, and lovely cinnamon bun icing treats. Yes, give me all the feels, giving me all the feels. So in this book, we are following Hazel and Noah. And Noah is kind of a newcomer to the town. He's been here for a few years, and he gives boat tours. So he takes people out on his boat. He teaches them how to fish and just the way of life in being a sailor or a fisherman. And so Noah has quite a reputation in Dream Harbor as a player and a womanizer, and basically he doesn't do serious relationships. He does casual fun. He doesn't date anybody in the town, and he only messes around with tourists. So people who come to Dream Harbor for a few weekends, those are the only kind of women that he will mess around with and have casual fun with. And so here we have Noah, who is very much a playboy, and then we have Hazel, who is very much an introvert and a bookworm. She's like a librarian in a way, and these two start to have feelings for each other. And they're definitely trying to hide the fact that they have the hots for each other. And Hazel and Noah are going through their own issues of their own. Noah basically ran away from home, and his parents owned the seafood business. They wanted him to take over and run it, and I guess it was too much for him, so he ran away from it. And he basically hadn't been home since. And he feels the disappointment and the failure and the pressure from his family, and he doesn't want to face them again. He feels like a screw up. He feels like he can't amount to much. And so Noah's kind of going through his own motions, and I think this is why he doesn't latch on to anything serious, is because of the failure and the disappointment that he knows his family feels for him. So he feels like he can't live up to anybody's expectations. And then we have Hazel, who is on the verge of turning 30 and is having a slight crisis, a very early midlife crisis, to where she feels like she's played it safe her entire life. She got straight A's in school, was all about school, didn't go out and party and do reckless things. She was a straight A honor roll student and daughter. She didn't do anything reckless. So she felt like she didn't have fun growing up in her 20s. And so now she's feeling like she wants to be reckless. She wants to do fun things. She wants to be a different version of herself, a more funner, reckless, does things that she doesn't normally do or say, Hazel. So she goes on this journey of trying to figure out who she is and do all of these fun things before she turns 30. So we also have a mystery throughout this book of somebody leaving clues in books in her bookstore. And so they'll leave like a fantasy book in the romance section kind of sticking out, and it's kind of a sore eye because it doesn't belong in that section. And when she goes to take this book back to its section, she notices that one of the pages is dog-eared. And she's like, who would do this to a book in a bookstore? She opens up the book. There's a highlighted sentence in the book. So not only has somebody dog-eared the page, they've also defaced the book by writing in the book. And the quotes that they underline call out to her things that she has been wanting to do but hasn't had the nerve to do. So we have a mystery person who's been defacing books and basically helping her go along on this adventure before she turns 30. And so she has entrusted the help of Noah to help her go on all of these adventures that she finds in these defaced books. And he's on board. He's ready to help her. He's ready to help her figure out who she is and have a little bit of fun and maybe a little extra fun on the side. And Hazel really changes Noah. Noah feels this change within him why do I feel this way about this woman when I never felt this way about any other woman that I just had casual fun with? So you really start to feel those feelings amping up. Here we also have Hazel, who's very self-conscious of herself, doesn't feel like she's beautiful in any sort of way, and sees Noah as just this really hot guy, and why would he be interested in her? So she basically feels he's just helping a friend out and helping her to have a little bit of fun before she turns 30, and there's no way in heck that somebody as hot as him would love somebody who looks like her. My heart goes out for Hazel. My heart goes out for her, just like kind of diving into her head on how she feels about her body and her looks, and just poor Hazel, poor Hazel. But I love that Noah implements all of these beautiful compliments to her and really starts to help Hazel realize just how beautiful she is in the inside and the outside as well. And this book is good. Now, I haven't finished it. I think I have like 2 or 3 chapters left. I do plan to finish it tonight, but like I said, we are coming to the end of the last week of fall, and this video needs to go up this weekend. And so yeah, I'm throwing this in here. This is going to be a 5-star read for me. I don't feel like it was, oh my goodness, amazing like the Pumpkin Spice Cafe was, but it was still an amazing, amazing read, and I'm going to give it 5 stars. It's a really good time, and it's very, very different from Jeannie and Logan's story. We also get a little bit of little snippets of Jeannie and Logan throughout this story, which is really nice to kind of see how they're doing and where they're at in their relationship. And so by no means is this one a slow burn. Like, you literally get spicy scenes right off the bat, so just be prepared for that. You get a lot more spicy scenes in this book than you do in the first book, and so for that, I would say I'd probably give this a 4 chili pepper rating. So just be prepared that this book is a lot more spicier than the first book, but nonetheless, it was really good, and it is really good, and I can't wait to read the last couple chapters of the book. I pretty much already know how it's going to end, but it's a good time. You also get to try to figure out the mystery of who is highlighting all of these quotes throughout these books to help Hazel go on this adventure through the last bit of her 20s. And yeah, 5 stars, you guys. I'm gonna rapid fire through all of my thrillers, you guys, because I normally don't like to give too much away because they are thriller books. I really want it to be a surprise and a mystery when you guys dive into these books for the first time. So I don't like to give too much away, but I will kind of give you a general idea of what the book is about and a little bit of my thoughts that won't spoil the book for you. All right, next up is going to be my thriller section, and as we all know, I'm in my thriller era, and I've been in that era for quite some time now. Thrillers just do the most for me when it comes to reading a book. I get through thrillers in a week if I really have enough time to be able to sit down and read through it and just purge through the book. They just do something to me that just keeps me turning pages. So I did get through 5 thriller books, you guys. So first up, I did read through my first ever Riley Sager books, and I must say, I'm thoroughly am pleased with Riley Sager. He has easily become one of my all-time favorite thriller authors to read, right up there with Sherry Lapina, Lisa Jewell, Frida McFadden, Karen McManus, Alex Michaelides. Those are just a few of my favorite thriller authors. Absolutely love. I'm also really happy that I decided to start reading his work from his very first published works to his newest work. And I have heard so many people say that you should read his work from the very beginning instead of what has newly been put out there, simply because his work has grown a lot over the years, and which I feel like is going to happen with any really good author. Their work is going to grow.
Oh my goodness, my ring hasn't been on this whole time.
I'm barely realizing that I forgot to put my wedding ring on after I washed my face this morning and got all ready. So let me go grab her now. Oh my goodness. Yeah, totally forgot that I took off my ring when I was washing my face this morning. She's a beauty. I just have to throw that out there because my husband did buy me a new ring, and I'm getting off on a tangent. This is why my videos are so long, because I can't seem to ever shut up. Get it together. We're talking about Riley Sager. Okay, so yeah, anyways, basically, there's a lot of mixed reviews about his earlier works, to where a lot of people don't like his earlier releases. These are the first 2 books that he ever released, which is Final Girls and The Last Time I Lied. And what happens is people basically will read Riley Sager for the first time, such as The Middle of the Night or Vengeance, some of the, like, I think, what is it, The Only One Left, and enjoy those books to a T and rate them a 5 or 6 star rating, and then they start going back to his older work and don't enjoy it as much and start rating these books like a 3 star. And so Olivia over on Olivia Reads a Latte, which is one of my favorite booktubers to watch, also recommended this along with other people as well, that if you're going to dive into Riley Sager for the first time, that you should read his works from his very first published to his newly released. And so that's exactly what I did, and I'm really glad that I did. So the first book that I picked up is Final Girls. I feel like I read this book so long ago. This was one of the books that I was like, did I pick this up for my fall reads? Because I couldn't remember picking up this book for my fall reads, like, at all. So, don't even remember the characters' names. In this book, we are following our main character, Quincy. And she is a final girl. So, there's these 3 different girls from different states, different friend groups. They don't even know each other, but all 3 of these girls went through some really crazy things. So Quincy was up at a cabin with her friends, partying it up, having a good time, and all of her friends got murdered except for her. She got away. And then same thing with the other 2 girls. Things happened with them in the same type of manner where all of their friends got murdered except for them. So they're final girls in a way. So these 3 girls are the center of attention for all of the news outlets and news media and like morning shows and things like that, wanting interviews and doing newspapers and all of these different documentaries on these girls. And so Quincy is basically trying to lead a normal life. She's started up this like Instagram baking thing. She bakes things and takes pictures and videos and posts them to her Instagram. And so that's basically what she's been doing for a living. And she's trying to convince herself to lead this normal life and act like everything that happened to her in the past didn't happen to her. So she's really trying to restart her life. When one of the final girls comes back into her life, is it Lisa? What is her name? So yes, Sam is another one of the final girls, and Sam ends up on Quincy's doorstep, and she has come back because one of the final girls died. Lisa died, and so now they're worried that somebody is out to get them because they are the final girls, and somebody wants all of these final girls dead, as they were meant to be when all of their friends got murdered. And so Sam and Quincy basically get together, and they're trying to figure out Lisa's death, and while they're doing that, a lot of other things start to emerge, as well as Sam being very mysterious. Quincy has like her suspicions about Sam. She doesn't fully trust her, but at the same time, she's starting to do a lot of reckless behavior because of her. She's really starting to revert back to this person who had a lot of anxiety, who had a lot of nightmares, who did a lot of reckless things and took drugs and started drinking and all of these things to get over what happened to her. And like I said, Quincy is now starting to lead a normal life. She's put all of that behind her, but enter Sam, who is a final girl who's very reckless. She does drugs, she drinks, she does a lot of like reckless, fun behavior. And Quincy starts doing all of these things just because Sam says. Mind you, Quincy has a fiance that she lives with. The fiance is like, why is she here? Why is she living with us? Why are you doing these things? And it's become very weird. There is a lot of twists and turns, especially towards the last 50 pages of the book. There's a lot of twists and turns that it's like, okay, didn't see that coming. Some of the things I guessed, but then other parts of the twists and turns I did not guess. Also in this book, Quincy and Sam go to the park in the middle of the night because Sam, like I said, is reckless and is always up to no good. And they see people cruising. Like, is that actually a thing? Like, I remember, like, hearing about that, like, in the Riverdale show of these teenagers going to the park in the middle of the night and cruising, which I guess is basically, like, means, like, hooking up with people. And so they're sitting on this park bench in the middle of the night watching people cruise. And I just, like, I sat there and I was like, is that really a thing? Do people actually do that? Because that is scary as heck because you don't even know these people or what they're capable of or what their intentions are, and two, it's disgusting. And so yeah, I just wondered if that's really actually a thing or if that's just something that we see in movies and books. So that was really interesting, something that I seen in this book. And needless to say, Sam is a really bad influence on Quincy. She is bringing Quincy down to her level. And so throughout this book, I'm like, why is Quincy allowing this woman to come into her life, disrupt everything that she had going on for herself, and bring her down? I don't understand it. And then the fact that she's like doing whatever Sam says was just really crazy to me. And simply because of that fact, at the fact that she let this woman into her life and let this woman basically dictate her life and tell her what to do and say, knowing that it wasn't the right thing to do or say, really, I feel like brought the rating down a little bit for this book. I know that's not helping for fans of his newer work and not for his older work, but it was still a good read. I rated this a 4.5. I would highly recommend it to anybody who loves thriller books and is looking to get into Riley Sager's books. And I really do suggest, yes, reading his work from his first published to his newly released. I can't wait to read through his work and just to see how he's grown as an author. So I did rate this book a 4.5. And that's basically all I'm going to say about this because I don't want to give any more away. You're really getting like that final girl setting. It's giving Scream vibes in a way, and trying to get that last final girl. And I just really like that. Scream is my favorite horror scary movie. I don't do horror or scary movies. Scream is as good as it's gonna get, and even then I feel like the newer Screams are a little bit more gory than like the first ones were, although yes, I know it was like bloody and stuff like that. When I think of Scream, I just think of like stage blood. Like, I don't know, I feel like the newer Screams, I think of real blood, and like the old Screams is just like, I don't know, it's just like a spoof to me. But anywho, you guys, I do highly recommend this, and I did give it 4.5 stars. And then the second book that I read from Riley Sager, which is The Last Time I Lied. This is giving campy vibes. So if you love a good thriller that is set at a summer camp, this is going to be the book for you. So we are following Emma, and Emma is a painter, and she paints. All of her paintings are the same. They're all these like outdoorsy, really dark forest vibes, but beneath woodsy elements that you see on the surface of the painting, she paints these three girls, Vivian, Natalie, and Allison. She paints them in these white gowns and then covers them up in between the branches and the forest. And so nobody actually knows that these girls were originally drawn behind these woodsy scenes. Needless to say, she's doing really good as an artist. She's getting her own like debut where people are buying her paintings and things like that. And then she meets somebody at one of her events for selling her paintings. She meets not her camp counselor, but the camp that she grew up going to. The owner of that camp comes to her painting event and basically asks her to come back to the camp. Now, mind you, Vivian, Allison, and Natalie were at this camp and were some of Emma's best friends when she would go to this summer camp. They ended up going missing at her time at this camp when she was younger. And so the girls were never found. The camp ended up getting shut down because of a lot of scandals that were said about this camp owner's sons having involvement with the girls' disappearance. Now, like I said, the girls were never found. The camp owner's sons were never convicted of anything. So the camp had been shut down for years. I think it was like 13, 15 years or so. And so now the camp is being reopened again by the same camp owner. And this camp owner has asked Emma to come back as a camp counselor. So Emma decides that she's going to go back as a camp counselor because she wants to find out what happened to the girls. She feels like if she goes back to this camp, she might be able to unearth the things that happened to these girls and hopefully be able to piece together this mystery of what happened to them. So I will say I didn't see the ending coming on who did it and why they did it. And I really, really enjoyed the ending. I enjoyed the twists and turns at the end. And for that, I gave this book 5 stars. This book, I feel like, was obviously a little bit better than Final Girls. Don't get me wrong, Final Girls was really good. It had me intrigued and interested from beginning to end. This one was even more so. So I gave this one a 5 star. I also feel like there's a lot of suspicious people throughout this book. We have so many characters thrown in our face to where it's really hard to figure out who did it. And we also have like an insane asylum history element thrown into this book, which is a little bit creepy and kind of giving like AHS vibes. And it was a really good time, and I highly, highly recommend it. 5 stars, you guys. All right, moving on to another book that I read in my thriller section, which I feel like maybe this book doesn't even belong in the thriller section. I feel like it belongs in its own genre because this is actually a true crime book. And that is College Girl Missing: The True Story of How a Young Woman Disappeared in Plain Sight by Sean Cohen. I actually didn't know that this was a true crime book when I first picked it up. I thought this was a book that was portraying like a documentary type book, but like also fiction. But no, this is actually a true book. It's based on a true story. It's based on a true girl. And this was really riveting. Really riveting, you guys. I was a little bit nervous going into this because although I love thrillers, I love mystery books, they're fiction. It's not real. It's not real true events that have actually happened to someone or their family. Although, yes, some of these things could happen to people. I know that it's fiction. And one of the things that I refuse to watch is true crime documentaries. Don't get me wrong, they're interesting. And I used to watch a lot of them with my husband, especially when we first got together. We'd watch a lot of documentaries, true crime documentaries and stuff like that together. But I don't do those anymore because they really mess with my head. And just me wanting to know what drove somebody to be so evil to do these heinous acts to somebody. Obviously the devil himself. But it's really crazy to me. My heart goes out to the family members or the victims, and it's heart-wrenching for me. I have a lot of feelings. I'm a very emotional person, and my emotions drive every sense and feeling that I have throughout my daily life. And so I almost felt like, am I going to be able to get through this book without crying? And I did, but it was also really sad. There did come a point in time in this book where I had to put it down and walk away from it for a few days and read something else and then come back to it because it was a little heavy on my heart, just like knowing that this girl was never found. So I don't feel like that is a spoiler. It's told right off the bat of the story that, you know, she was never found. So in this story, we are following Lauren Spear, and she is a college student. So she's gone off to college and she's living the college life. She's living it up. She's doing drugs. She's partying every night. Her friends have noticed that she's gotten a lot more heavier with taking the drugs and partying and drinking, and they've started to really be concerned for her. Needless to say, one partying, drinking, doing drugs night, she ends up going missing. And her friends become really worried. Her friend group becomes really worried. And they end up going to the police and letting the police know that their friend is missing. Basically, the cops really didn't do that good of a job at trying to find this girl as soon as possible because everyone would say, oh, that's just what Lauren does. She gets drunk, she goes into hiding for the rest of the night, maybe a couple days, and then she resurfaces again and she's herself again. And so, you know, the cops are basically saying, you know, try to look everywhere that you can, ask everybody that you know, she could be at a boyfriend's house or another friend's house or something like that. And, you know, this friend group has done all they can to try to find her. In the middle of this, we are basically following a reporter who reported on these events of this missing girl. He was the reporter for this case when she went missing, and basically years later, he decides to dive back into Lauren Spear's case and really try to help the family get some type of closure. And whether that means figuring out what happened to her or trying to get her friend groups to confess to what happened, he's just trying his best to basically get some closure for the family. And so he dives back into the case and goes tracking down all of her friend groups and people that knew her, the police and detectives and private investigators and all of these different people that were involved in Lauren's life. So basically, there's a few suspects on the list. Her boyfriend, who was ready to settle down with Lauren, who was ready to put a ring on it, but Lauren wasn't ready. Lauren had refused living together and getting engaged many times to him. And so the boyfriend is a suspect because he is very suspicious after Lauren goes missing. I won't dive into the details of that, just to kind of leave that there for you to read for the first time. But the boyfriend is suspicious because he obviously had some anger issues. Him and Lauren fought and argued a lot over her basically flirting with other guys and things like that. Felt like a lot of people let Lauren down throughout this story. Not only did her boyfriend let her down, not only did her friends let her down, not only did the police let her down, but her friends knew she had a drinking problem, they knew she had a drug addiction problem, and they knew that she had a heart condition problem. So she had a condition with her heart. She had to take medication for her heart, and she was drinking and doing drugs while having this heart condition, and everyone was very worried about her, but yet nobody tried to reach out to her parents or really try to get through to her. And that's not to say that her friends didn't try to talk to her, because they did try to talk to her, but obviously she would reassure them, you know what, you're right, I'm gonna get better, and don't worry, I'm gonna change. And needless to say, she'd maybe do it for a little bit and then revert back to her old self. So I just feel like her friends should have maybe reached out to her parents and really told her parents like what was really going on with Lauren. And I get it, they're young, and when you're that young and naive, you don't think to basically tattletale to your friends' parents on the types of things that they're going through. But I just feel like if maybe they would have done that, maybe the parents could have came down and really talked some sense into her or brought her back home or something of the sorts. And I know we can't play a what ifs or what if I did this or what if they did that, because at the end of the day, it's happened, and what has been done has already been done. There's no going back and changing it. But I just feel like that could have been something that could have helped save Lauren if her friends would have spoke out about her drug abuse and alcohol abuse. And so really the main suspects are her boyfriend and these two other guys that she basically was going back and forth with through that night to each of their dorm rooms. And these guys are weird. They lawyer up. They literally hire the best lawyers that money can buy, lawyers that represented high celebrities. And it was just really weird because nobody was like asking these guys, did you do something to her? They were literally just questioning all of their friend groups and kind of going over what happened that night, and they lawyered up. They shut down and they lawyered up. And if that doesn't scream suspicious or guilty, I don't know what is. Why would you need the best lawyer money could buy if you're not guilty? It makes absolutely zero sense. So basically, don't get your hopes up throughout this book, because they don't find who did it. They don't know who did it. They don't know what happened to Lauren. And I will say my anxiety was through the roof while reading this book. My heart really went out to the family. My heart really went out to Lauren. And it just really sucks reading this book and not knowing what happened to her or who did it. And in my opinion, I really believe that these two guys, maybe even the boyfriend, were all in on it together. I think maybe she got a little too drunk, did way too many drugs, and with her heart condition combined, I think maybe something happened to her. Maybe she blacked out, or maybe she stopped breathing and they didn't know what to do, and maybe they decided to hide her body and not tell a single soul about it. So that's what I think ended up happening to her. It's just really unfortunate that the police couldn't figure out what happened to her or where she went, because again, these police officers weren't really doing their job with like interviewing these boys on and really grinding them to try to get a confession out of them. There's a couple quotes in this book. So one of the quotes, Lauren's mom quoted a German-American rabbi, and it says, "The most urgent, the most disgraceful, the most tragic problem is silence." And I just really felt like that spoke volumes. And so I thought I'd throw that quote in here. Another quote here on page 71, it says, "Disappearances in minority communities are even more commonly ignored." And that is one of the things that they talk about in this book is white women syndrome, and how if you're white with blue eyes or green eyes and blonde hair, you're going to make it to missing persons report and get on the news and all of those things. And everyone's going to try to do their best to come together as a community and find that person if she's a white woman with blue, green eyes and blonde hair. But then if you get a person of color or a person from a poor background, they don't use all of the resources possible to find that person. And they kind of go into that with another young woman named Crystal Grubb, who went missing in 2010. And Grubb's mother explained her daughter's case didn't go public or have so much frenzy around the case because they were poor. And basically the same thing ended up happening. Her daughter ended up missing, and nobody put in the resources and the time to really try to find her daughter because they were poor. before. And they kind of dive into some other cases as well that are like Crystal Grubb's case around the same time that didn't get a lot of public attention because of their background, which is honestly just sad. And then, oh yeah, I forgot about this. There was one of Lauren's friend who talked about her in the past tense. So that was a little bit suspicious in a way, and maybe she's just saying that because maybe she came to terms with her friend is probably dead and they're never going to find her, she's never going to see her again, or maybe she was also in on it. I think there was probably a lot of people in her friend group that were in on making her disappear. I don't think that anybody intentionally evilly did something to her. I think that something accidentally happened to her with the drugs and her heart condition and the drinking, and I think everyone panicked and didn't know what to do and disposed of the body. How they did that, nobody knows, but yeah, you know, Judgment Day will come for them, and they're gonna have to answer to that. So anyways, I do feel like I will read other true crime books, but I will have to be in the right headspace to read it. I feel like I've talked about this book way too much and way too long, so let's go ahead and move on to the last two books in my thriller genre. Moving on to another 6-star read in my thrillers, you guys, and that's Don't Let Him In by Lisa Jewell. Holy cow. If this book didn't have me turning pages like no other book has before, you guys, this book was so good. It was intriguing, it was enthralling, and I was in it. I got through this book very, very fast. And the crazy part is this is one of Lisa Jewell's newly released books, and I feel like there's so many people that didn't like it. And I don't know why, because it was so good. It was so good, in fact, that at the end of the story, I didn't want it to end. I didn't want it to end. I was really sad that it was over. I wanted more of this Nick Radcliffe guy. This guy is crazy. He is crazy, guys. So in this book, we are following Ash and Nina, and Nina is Ash's mother. So Ash moves back in with her mom. Her dad has passed away, and they're having a hard time grieving with his loss. And enter this guy, Nick, who is very mysterious, that supposedly used to be a best friend to her father. And so he starts, you know, bringing flowers and doing all of these lovely things for Ash and her mom. He starts to become really close with her mom to the point where they start a relationship together. Needless to say, her mom is glowing. Her mom is glowing and having a really fun time with this Nick guy, but Ash has her suspicions about him, and she really starts diving into trying to find as much information as possible about Nick. Needless to say, Nick is leading double lives, maybe triple lives. He has another wife and kids, and he is hiding that from Ash's mother, Nina. And that is not a spoiler because it literally says, like in the synopsis, it talks about Ash and Nina, and then it talks about Martha, his wife. And so Martha and his wife have 3 children, and they own a florist shop together. And so Nick is leading this double life. He has a whole wife and family, and then he's over here with Nina and her daughter. And Ash really starts to catch on that Nick isn't who he said he is. And so throughout the entire book, we are basically following Ash and Nick. We get dual timelines, so we really dive into Nick in the present with Ash and Nina and his wife, and then Nick in the past with his wife and other mistresses that he has had in the past. And so needless to say, Nick is a psychopath, okay? He's got a lot of things going on with him, but it makes for a really, really good book. I'm gonna say this right now, this is my favorite Lisa Jewell book. Lisa Jewell is the queen of domestic thrillers. I also feel like that is the reason why a lot of people don't like her books, is because they're domestic thrillers. I just feel like you get a lot more like plot between family dynamics and like what leads up to whatever that mysterious thriller element is in between the family. So I feel like maybe that's why people don't love her work as much. So you gotta go into her books knowing that this isn't gonna be like your normal thriller, like a Riley Sager or Alex Michaelides or a Frida McFadden. It's really more of a domestic thriller. You're gonna get a lot of details about your characters and following these characters throughout their life. And I honestly really, really enjoy that. This guy is nuts. He literally gets a thrill over stalking this girl on a bus, although he has no intention of doing anything to her. He just thinks it's fun and he gets a thrill from it. by walking too close to her, following her every move and every turn, and being basically right up on her, breathing on her neck. And yeah, he's crazy. He is nuts. A lot of the things that he says or does is like, what? Also a part in this book where he starts talking about his wife Martha, and the way he talks about her is just flat out disgusting. He talks about how he hates her body, he hates the way she looks, the way her hair looks, the way she smells, and Martha is already feeling very self-conscious about herself. She has really low self-esteem. So he tries to be this picture-perfect husband. He says the picture-perfect things. He's very charming. He knows how to get you to do what he wants you to do, or basically manipulate you into doing or saying whatever he says. And these women are stupid enough to fall for it. And it's sad that it actually does happen in society. Women get so encaptured by a man's beauty and his charming words that they literally will do the stupidest things that he says to do or say. And my heart just went out to Martha, because here she is thinking that her husband is just this picture perfect husband, but really in his mind he's saying all of these nasty, degrading things about his wife. And it just made me so angry that this is how he really felt about his wife, and she had no idea. But also at the same time, like Martha, had it coming to her, because she literally had all of these suspicions about him, had all of these second thoughts about him, had all of these gut feelings about him, but would just brush it off because she just wanted so badly to be happy in this marriage and not have anything go wrong. So she wouldn't dive too deep into the things that she was suspicious about, because she just wanted to have this picture perfect marriage. My heart still went out to her for that, because I totally get it. I get it, not wanting to have to start all over again or have to find out all of these crazy secrets that your spouse is doing to you. But at the same time, you're worth so much more than that. So much more. At the end of the day, they're just characters. It's just a book. But it really gets you thinking. He's also a gigolo? Like, what? It was so crazy to me when I found that out, that he was a gigolo. That might be a spoiler, but I just feel like at this point, he's a psychopath, and I don't feel like by saying that he's a gigolo is really that much of a spoiler. Anyways, you guys, I think I'm gonna quit talking now, because I will literally give this whole book away. I will say, if you love the show if you love that show, this gives that show to a T. He's a psychopath. He basically falls in love with all of these women, and he truly really feels this love for these women until they grow old and he falls in love with another woman. So he really gives Joe from You vibes, and I love it. I absolutely love it to a T. And like I said, I didn't want this book to end. I wanted more from Nick, and I'm really sad to say that we're not going to get any more from him, but it was so good. I rated it 6 stars. As last up in my thriller section is going to be She Didn't See It Coming by Sherry Lapina. This was the last thriller book that I read, and I had a really, really good time with it. So, in this book, we are following Bryden and Sam, and they have a daughter. I think she's like 3 or 4. They're very successful. They both have very good careers. They live in this like high-rise apartment complex. And Bryden ends up going missing. So her car is parked in the driveway, her keys and her phone are at home, her laptop is still booted up from when she was working on her computer, and she just goes missing into thin air. The daycare is calling her, saying, hey, the daycare is going to be closing soon, you need to come pick up your daughter. She's not answering their calls, so they have to call the husband to come pick up their daughter. The police get involved, and from there we enter loads and loads of suspects of who could have done it. We have friend groups, we have sisters, we have mom and dad, we have neighbors. There's so many different characters that are thrown into this book. I will tell you, I did not see who it was coming, as to why Bryden went missing. The person who was responsible for her appearance, I didn't see it coming. So I will say that at some point I suspected almost every single character in this book. I was really trying to figure out who did it, but for the life of me, I couldn't. Obviously, at some point, the person that was a part of Bryden's disappearance did cross my mind that they could have done it, but then I felt like, well, that's too easy. So I moved on to the next person. We also have affairs throughout this marriage. Bryden and Sam are pictured as this picture-perfect couple. They are the perfect couple. They can do no wrong. They're absolutely head over heels in love for each other. And so throughout the story, as the police are involved and this detective is involved, we really start to find out just how many secrets Bryden and Sam had together. And boy, will they leave you surprised. We also enter this other couple dynamic where I think they are literally giving like Dexter vibes. And so we enter this couple who, I don't know, they've killed before, they've done really bad things before, and they are also suspects in Bryden's disappearance. And I don't know, you guys, I highly recommend it. It was a really good book. I gave it a 5-star rating, and if you love thrillers, you love a good whodunit disappearance, this is going to be for you. That was all of my thriller books. I promise I am almost done here. We have 2 more books to go through. Well, actually, no, I lied. I have 5 more books to go through. I'm going to try to rapid fire through these books, you guys, because I feel like this video has been long enough. All right, moving on to my fantasy section, you guys. All right, ugh, if I can grab them. Very heavy, very heavy. First up in my fantasy section, as we all know, I am reading through the Harry Potter series for the first time, and so I read through Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix by J.K. Rowling, and this is the 5th book in the series, and she's a chunker. She's a chunker, you guys. This was a really big book, a really thick book, but it was so good. It was so good. Like I said, I've been reading through the Harry Potter for the first time, and I have fallen head over heels in love. And so has my daughter. She's been loving the movies. And to pair along with this, I also picked up the illustrated versions of the Harry Potter series, which have also been a really good time. I'll quickly show you guys some illustrations, if I can find some. Yeah. We've got some really beautiful illustrations. I highly recommend the illustrated versions for children, like in the middle grade age. I really feel like the pictures really help bring this book to life even more. Although with the Harry Potter series, I feel like you don't even need illustrations because it's so visually percepted in your mind that you can just visualize everything and just feel all of the 5 senses. And it was a good time. So I have been watching the movies alongside the book. So after I finish a book, I will watch the movie. And I really don't remember the movies up until after the 3rd book. And so it's been a really fun time reading through this series and then diving back into the movies, because the movies, I grew up on the movies. I've watched the Harry Potter movies so many times. It's a comfort movie for me. Definitely a comfort movie for my daughter because she's obsessed with Harry Potter. But it's been a really good time diving back into these movies alongside with the books and just being able to compare things that they changed or they didn't implement in the movies versus the book. So in books 4 and 5, we really start to see Ron and Hermione's love for one another. And it's really crazy because I pretty much ended up spoiling myself on who got together with who by accident. And I didn't even know that. I've seen all of the Harry Potter movies, but like I said, after the 3rd movie, it really starts to get rocky to the point where I don't really remember anything that happened in the movies. So spoiling myself on who got together with who, I was like, okay, that makes sense now. That makes sense on why Ron and Hermione were always bickering with each other, always fighting with each other, can never agree with each other, jealous when Ron gets jealous of Hermione going to the Yule Ball with another guy. And so now I start to see it. I start to see it now of how young they are, and when you like somebody, you're just mean to them. And I don't know why young people do that, but they do. So in the 5th book, as well as the 4th book, you really start to dive more into Harry Potter and his feelings for Cho, as well as Ginny's feelings for Harry, and Ron and Hermione's feelings for each other. And you really start diving into just like everybody really starting to come with terms of, you know, wanting to ask each other out on dates and wanting to ask each other to go to Hogsmeade together and things like that. So I really enjoy that aspect of like a high school setting and being nervous to ask your crush out. We also really dive into how Mrs. Weasley and Mr. Weasley really treat Harry like their own son. They don't treat him any differently. They stick up for him no matter what he says or what he does, and they are there for him through thick and thin. And fuck the Dursleys, okay? Because Mr. Weasley and Mrs. Weasley are literally everything to Harry Potter, and I just love seeing that family dynamic for him. I will say that I did start reading the illustrated version first, and I felt like I wasn't reading through it as fast. Every single Harry Potter book that I have read this far, I go through pages like nobody's business. But once I started reading through the illustrated versions, don't get me wrong, it was so much fun being able to see the illustrations alongside with the book. I just feel like because how big the book is, there's so many words on the pages that it would take a lot longer to get through a chapter. I don't know what it was, but I really didn't enjoy the reading experience as much as I thought I was going to, reading through the illustrated versions. So I ended up reading like halfway. Yeah, I still have my bookmark in here. I read halfway through the illustrated version, and then I finally realized, you know what, I'm not having as much of a good time with Harry Potter as I was when I was reading the original book of it. So then I ended up reading through the rest of the book like nobody's business, and I was like, why didn't I do that sooner? But I just really loved the illustrations for the Harry Potter books, and I'm really glad that I do have these in my collection, and I can share these with my kids. My oldest son, Benjamin, we read the first book together. He really enjoyed it, and I asked him if he wanted to continue this series, and he is thinking about it. He says that he will read it up to at least the third book, just because the rest of the books in the series are pretty thick and intimidating, and I get that. And I'm thinking maybe he might really enjoy reading through the illustrated versions to get some illustrations along with the writing. But anywho, basically in this book, we ended off the fourth book with realizing that Voldemort is coming back and that things are about to change in the wizarding world and at Hogwarts. And in this book, we really dive into who was really Harry's friend, who was really there for Harry, because now in the wizarding world, everybody is divided up between who believes that Voldemort is back and is ready to fight and get prepared for him coming back, and those who are probably on Voldemort's side or don't believe that Voldemort is coming back and that Harry is lying, Dumbledore is lying, everyone who believes in Voldemort is lying and making things up. And so in the wizarding world, they are very divided and they are fighting against each other, which is exactly what Voldemort wants, so he can come back at the most opportune time when nobody is paying attention or even thinks that his existence is real. And so things are starting to get really dark. Dumbledore has been taken out of head office, and we now have a new headmaster who loves to create trouble for Harry especially, and is on a path to destruction and just changing things in the school rules, included getting rid of teachers and implementing new teachers and the way that things are taught throughout the school. There's also a point in this book that really dives into, I feel like, real high school, college life. This is not something that I did growing up, but this is something that I did hear other friends or acquaintances of mine growing up. They start taking brain stimulants, so potions, to help them pass their exams, which is just crazy at the fact that they were doing this, because growing up in a high school setting, college setting, I, obviously heard of my friend groups or acquaintances who did do these types of things to keep them awake longer, to help them pass tests and things like that, and to help them study. So I just thought that was a little bit funny at the fact that they were taking brain stimulant potions to get them through their exams. Anyways, you guys, I feel like I could talk about Harry Potter forever and ever and ever, because clearly there is so much to talk about, but I feel like everybody knows what Harry Potter is about. And if you haven't read the books, I'm pretty sure you probably at least have watched the movies. And I highly recommend, if you love reading, which if you're here, you obviously love to read a little bit at least, if you love the movies, pick up the books, because I tell you what, you're going to enjoy the books so much more than the movies, and it's a good time. It's a good time. So, as always, 5 stars. 5 stars. And then the last book in my fantasy section, and the last book in all of the books that I picked up for my fall reads, is going to be Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. And when I tell you this book surprised me, boy, did this book surprise me. So, this has been a book that I have been highly anticipating to be a really good read for me. And I finally decided to pick it up. As soon as I started reading the prologue, it started talking about the crunching and the gory, sounds of this sword going through this creature's body, and I was like, what is this book exactly about? What is this book exactly about? My daughter has joined us. Say hi, Mommy.
Hi.
What exactly is this book about? Because I don't do gore. Although I love thrillers and I love mysteries and murder mysteries and things like that, I don't love a gory book. I don't want to hear about all of the gory details. But the prologue was just basically a backstory about Viv, who is our main character here. Viv, the prologue is basically just a backstory on Viv and how she used to be like this, like a bounty hunter in a way, and would like kill other creatures for money, and that's how she, you know, thrived and made a living. And so basically in this story we follow Viv. She's ready to hang up her sword. She's ready to, you know, get off of the battlefield and open up a coffee shop. Open up a coffee shop in the small town of Thune. A town where nobody even knows what coffee is. They've never tasted coffee. They've never heard of coffee. They don't even know what it is. So she dares to open up this coffee shop in this small town where nobody knows what coffee is, which I think is just so cute. And this book just took me by surprise. Like, I highly anticipated for this book to be a good read, but then when I started reading, I was like, oh no, I feel like this book isn't going to be that good. Boy, was I wrong. I almost wanted to annotate it, but I had second thoughts on what if it's not good and I start annotating it and then I just end up not liking it, so I stopped annotating it. I would hate to have it only be halfway annotated, so I just didn't end up doing it. And as I was reading through it, I was like, wow, I should have annotated it, but it's too late now. I'm already like halfway through the book, so I do find myself wanting to pick this book back up and read it again and annotate it. When the time comes for that, it's just going to be a lovely time. I know I'm going to need so many tabs because I'm going to annotate the heck out of this book. This book is cozy. It screams cozy. It screams the five senses. You can smell the coffee. You can taste the coffee. You can feel the coffee. Like, not only the coffee, but all of the baked goods that are made throughout this book. Like, they're making baked goods that nobody even knows about. They make cinnamon rolls. Nobody knows what a cinnamon roll is. And it's just, it's a good time. Travis Baldree literally describes like the sticky, sweet, cinnamony, nutmeggy smell of the cinnamon rolls, the way like the bread pulls apart from each other. You guys, like this book is going to have your mouth watering from beginning to end. Anyways, you guys, we are following Viv, who opens up this coffee shop, and her trials and tribulations with opening up this coffee shop, because basically there's like this clan in this town. I'm gonna refer to them as like Robin Hood, because it really reminds me of the sheriff and the king taking all of the money from the poor and then having to pay their taxes to the sheriff and the king. That's basically what they're doing. So they go around to all of these businesses and take their fair share of the profits from these businesses to give back to their head lady. And so we have that going on in the midst of this, of Viv trying to open up this coffee shop, and they're basically threatening her, you know, if you don't pay your dues, don't be surprised if something happens to your coffee shop. She doesn't want to give in and give them a profit, but she also doesn't want to lose everything that she's worked so hard to build. Also, a couple quotes in here that I just loved. I love the way that they talked throughout this book. So on page 12, someone says, "What in the 8 hells is coffee?" Like, I don't know, like it's so crazy as a coffee lover, somebody who literally wakes up every morning and has her cup of joe and reads her book. It was just so funny reading throughout this book, knowing that nobody in this town knew what coffee was. There was also another quote here on page 46. One of the characters named Cal says, "Ladies in stockings and exotic bean water, gods help us." So they are literally calling this coffee bean water because they're in the shape of beans, and he's like, so it's bean water. Like, so funny. It was just so funny to me. This was also my first sapphic romance that I've ever read. Now, I will say it's very minimal. Very, very minimal. I've seen it coming. From the cover alone, you have these two girl characters, and throughout the book, it just felt like they were probably going to fall for each other. And so this was my first sapphic romance, and it was really good. I really enjoyed it. It was very subtle, it was very minimal, and I enjoyed it. I will say that my favorite types of books are female-male character romantic stories, and so I was really surprised at how much I liked the book, being that it was a sapphic romance. But I think what I loved about it is that it was so minimal, and it was so subtle and so genuine, and just like really cutesy. Like, there wasn't any spiciness thrown into this. So there is no spicy scenes in here. But anywho, it was really good. It really surprised me and I really enjoyed it. All in all, you guys, this book was a 6-star read for me. My second 6-star read. Actually, no, my third 6-star read out of all of my fall books that I picked out for the fall season. Yes, Don't Let Him In by Lisa Jewell, The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and now Legends and Lattes. Chef's Kiss. I loved the cozy vibes. I loved all of the talk about the baked goods and coffee and just the cozy elements of all of these characters coming together and just being this tight-knit community and family to each other when they really didn't have any family there for them. They became family for each other, and it was just really good, and I highly recommend it. If you love fantasy and you love cozy fantasy more specifically, pick it up. Pick it up today. I can't wait to get through the second book in the series, which I believe is Bookshops and Bone Dust, and I do plan on picking that up for my winter reads. All right, you guys. Those are all of the books that I got through for my fall TBR. However, I did end up adding on 3 extra books here. So let me quickly get through these. Okay. So one of the first books that I ended up tacking on is Ghoulia, Making New Friends Can Be Scary by Barbara Cantini. This is an elementary read, so it was very quick and easy. I read it within 5 minutes, probably even less time than that. But it was such a cute read and such a fun, spooky, like fall book to read for the fall season. I did read this with you guys in my fall reading vlog, so if you guys did miss out on that video, I will link it down below. If you'd like to check it out before the fall season is officially over, I did a lot of fun like fall activities such as book hauls and coloring and lots of reading and coffee drinking and movie night and baking and things like that. So I ended up picking up this, and this book is about Ghoulia. She's a zombie and she basically isn't allowed to leave the manor. She lives with her aunt and her auntie basically doesn't let her leave the manor. She isn't allowed to play with the other children. She isn't allowed to be seen by the other children because of what she is and who she is. And basically her auntie thinks that nobody is going to want to be friends with a zombie. And so Halloween rolls its head around and Ghoulia finds that this is the perfect opportunity for her to basically act like she's dressed up for Halloween and make friends. And it's just cute. It's heartwarming. It really dives into that it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter the color of your skin, that we should all be treated equally, no matter if we have a disability, if we're different colors, if we all look very different, if we're big, tall, fat, short, skinny, whatever. It doesn't matter what we look like, that we can all be friends and we can all love each other and have fun together. And that's exactly what Ghoulia does. She beats the odds. She goes out. She shows her auntie that, hey, she can make friends and they love her despite her being a zombie, despite her being able to pull her body parts apart and put them back together. They love her for who she is. And it's just a cute, heartwarming story. There's quite a few books in this series that I do plan on picking up. The next book in this series is here. I did want to pick it up for the fall season, but I just didn't end up getting around to it. But that is Ghoulia and the Mysterious Visitor. So I do want to pick that one up because the third book in the series is actually like a Christmas setting. So I would like to pick up that book for the winter season. But nonetheless, this was a cute, spooky little fall read to read over the fall season. And then I do also plan on reading it to my kids. So yeah, super cute book to read to your kids. If you guys do have kids or nieces, nephews, grandkids, I highly recommend picking up this book. And then the next book that I ended up picking up is The Lost Library by Rebecca Steed and Wendy Mass. And this was such a fun book. I ended up listening to this book on audiobook. Ooh, almost forgot, 5 stars obviously for this book. I ended up picking this book up on audiobook while I was doing my computer work from home. And it was a good time. I really enjoyed it. We're following quite a few characters throughout this story. We have a cat who can talk. We have mice who can talk. We have ghosts in the story. We are following this library. There was a library that burned down and they never built another library in this town. Then this little free library pops up in this town, and basically, essentially, this book is like mentioning a free little library for the very first time. Nobody knows what it is. There's this cabinet of books on the side of the road, and people start flocking to it and borrowing books from it and putting books in it. And it's just so cute. in a time and place where we have free little libraries popping up all over the country, which I think is just adorable and one of the most geniuses ideas there is, to be able to put out the knowledge and accessibility of books to children and just people of all ages alike for free is amazing. And that's really what we dive into this book. We also dive into a mystery with Evan trying to figure out where the books from this little free library are coming from, because all the books in this free little library are books from the library that burned down. So he's like, how are these books here in this free little library when the library and all the books in it burned down to a crisp? So he's trying to figure out where these library books came from. These library books have stamps in it, all of the people who checked out this book and when they checked it out and when they returned it. And come to find out, his dad is in several of these books. And a famous author, a mystery author, is also in these books that have checked out these books and read them. So Evan is even more curious. He starts asking his dad these questions about these books, and his dad starts shutting down and acting really weird. And so now Evan is really suspicious of his dad. You know, did his dad have something to do with the library burning down? And it's just a really fun, wholehearted book. Reading a book about books is just an all-time favorite of mine. Again, this is a middle grade book. I'll go ahead and show you here what it looks like inside. Highly recommend picking this up and reading it to your kids, or even recommending it to your middle graders to read, or early chapter book readers like in the 4th, 5th grade. I did tell my son that he should pick it up. I really think that he would like it, especially because they throw in this mysterious element of trying to figure out where these books came from and why the library burned down. And yeah, I had a really good time with it, and I gave this a 5-star rating. All right, you guys, I promise you I'm almost done. I know we've been here for probably at least 2 hours, but the last book that I ended up picking up, which was highly recommended by Kate over on the Library of Kate, is Crumbs by Danny Sterling. This is also a graphic novel that I adored with all my heart. The illustrations are just absolutely gorgeous. I also started reading this with you guys in my fall reading vlog as well, and it was a good time. We're following Ray, who is a witch. So this is like a town of witches and coming of age witches, I shall say. We're following Ray, who is a coming of age witch, and one of the things that she likes to do is go into this bakery where there is a cute boy behind the counter named Lori. Also, I must mention, this is also a sapphic romance as well. I actually didn't know that going into this book, that this was a sapphic romance, especially because Lori, our male character, is referred to as a male, and I think it wasn't until like halfway through the book that they flat out said, you know, that this is a sapphic romance, and I was like, okay, like I didn't even know that. So we are getting a sapphic romance here, and I absolutely enjoyed it. It was such a good, wholehearted story. I will say there was a lot of ups and downs for Ray and Lori, which comes along with any relationship. And so not only are we getting like a coming of age witch story, we're also diving into this relationship between Ray and Lori and them trying to figure out their feelings for each other and trying to figure out if this relationship is going to work between them. Basically, Ray is a coming of age witch. She's a seer. She can see the future, and she wants to go work at the council, the big shots, and be a part of like basically their government in a way, the council, and help them, you know, with being able to see the future for like bad weather that's coming or anything like that. But she has to travel out of the city to work for the council. And so that kind of puts a strain between her and Lori's relationship, because right now she's only temporarily for the council. If she were to get hired on full time, she would have to basically move there and be there, and her whole life would revolve around working for the council. And so that kind of really throws a strain in the relationship in, you know, can we even be serious? Can we be serious together? Should we even be together? But they're basically both just enjoying the fun ride. Basically like Hazel and Noah and the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, and this is just a fun time. This is just a casual fun time, and nothing's gonna come of it. We're just gonna have a fun time until I have to leave, basically. What comes with that is these two falling in love with each other. Lori works at the bakery with his aunt, and he's also a musician. He wants to be a musician. he wants to be able to get up there on the stage one day and be famous and, you know, create all of these songs and things like that. And so they're both trying to figure out not only their relationship and their feelings for each other, but also who they want to be in life and who they are in life. And you guys, I just highly recommend it. It's such a cozy time. There's so many baked goods again and like coffee and things throughout this story that's just a really cozy time. You have witches, you have a relationship and trying to figure out what's going to happen between this relationship and their feelings for each other, and it's so good. I highly recommend it. I also gave this book 5 stars, you guys. It was so good. I will say I was really sad on the way that it ended. It's a happy ending, but it's not like your typical happy ending. This was also a webtoon comic, so I'm just like really happy for this author getting their debut in an actual graphic novel form, and it's really exciting for them and exciting for me, and I highly, highly recommend it if you love graphic novels, especially witches, about witches. And yeah, you guys, that is all of the books that I read for the fall season. Holy crap, you guys. That was a lot of freaking books. That was a lot of books. So in total, I read
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
15 books. 15 books, you guys, and I couldn't be more proud of myself. My camera is literally about to die, so I'm going to end the video out here, you guys. I feel like I have talked long enough. Please let me know down below if you have read any of these books and what your thoughts and opinions or ratings were on the book. Of course, without spoiling any of the books for us. I would love to know how many of you enjoyed The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, Don't Let 'Em In by Lisa Jewell, Legends and Lattes, Crumbs, if you've read it. Those are just some of my favorite books that I was able to get through and read. And yeah, you guys, stay tuned for all of the books that I want to read for the winter season. I already have quite a few in mind that I want to get through, so I can't wait to start pulling them off of my shelves and creating a list of books to read over the next 3 months, you guys. So just stay tuned because that might end up being what my next video is after this one. Yeah, you guys, thank you guys so much for stopping by. I really hope that you guys enjoyed coming along with me as I chit-chatted for hours on end about all of the lovely books that I was able to get through for the fall season. All in all, I would say 10 out of 10. Pretty much all of the books that I read, I gave basically a 5-star rating to. I think the lowest rating I gave was a 4.5 star to Final Girls by Riley Sager, but even then it was still a really good book. And yeah, you guys, I feel like I have really become to know myself and know exactly what kind of books I like, to the point where I'm not letting myself down with books that I don't enjoy. I've been reading a lot of really good books lately. And yeah, you guys, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a like and help out your girl's channel further. And don't forget to subscribe. I would love to have you here on the Garden of Reading. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.